This is Phil Woolery with Purdue Extension, and today I'm out in the Starke County Soil and Water Conservation District's test plots. So what they're looking at here, we have different areas of the field where it's using tillage and no-till and comparing the results. So what we're going to talk about today is look at some of the different conditions, because this was planted 2 days ago. So we're going to look at the differences in soil conditions between these two kind of treatments and some other differences that are going on right now. So the first thing we're going to look at is soil temperature, and soil temperature is important for germination. So the soils need to be warm enough to have the germination, and again, the warmer the soil is, the faster that seed will sprout and get out of the ground. And so that's kind of important when we're looking at crop development. And so with no-till, we're going to have more residue on the surface of the soil, and that'll have more protection from the sun, and they tend to be a little cooler. So here we have at 2 inches where the seed is about, we have 73.4 degrees. So then we'll compare that what we see in the tilled area. So looking at the soil temperature here, we have 73.7, this is pretty close to what we saw in the no-till area. So the temperatures aren't all that different at this time of the year. Where that comes into play, the soil temperature, the bigger differences will tend to be earlier in the spring where we have more cool weather. And so now we've had plenty of time, the sun beating down on the soil and warm it up. So not a big issue at this time of the year, but definitely a bigger issue earlier in the season. Another thing we can look at is soil moisture. So again, with this extra residue on the surface, this soil will retain moisture better, and that can lead to kind of cooler soils early in the season, but better moisture retention can be helpful later in the season if we're have a dry spell. So we're just going to dig in there, and until we find some moisture. We didn't go very far down. You can see that darker color, so that soil is moist there. So just that surface of the soil here is dry until we get there. So we've got some good moisture kind of close to the surface here. Now looking at soil moisture, we're just going to start going through the soil to try and find that moisture. So I've gone down this far here, so a little bit farther down the moisture is in the in the tilled area of the field as opposed to the no-till. So we've got their moistures a little farther down. But we've had some good rains recently, so that's not too concerned. But we'll have to keep an eye on this through the season and see if that continues. So the next thing we're going to look at is kind of the seed depth and seed placement, and that's kind of more of a have to deal with the planter and the machinery, so that when we're looking at the different soil conditions, if the planter's not kind of adjusted, that can create differences. So we're just looking in the seed slot here. We've got some nice residue from there, and here we found the slot, and we'll find some seeds in here. And here we go. You can see there's a seed right there. You can check that depth there. So it looks about just a little over 2 inches there. So that's a good seed depth there. The seed is in lots of moisture. We'll just look at this one seed here. So these were planted 2 days ago, and we already have some germination. So we've got the root already emerging there, and so it will soon, with the weather we've been having, probably about a week before we'd get these soybeans out of the ground. So looking pretty good there. I'll put them back there where he was and bury him back up. All right, so next we're going to check on the seed depth here in the tilled area of the field. So we'll go, gonna dig down here. It's nice and loose, so good good seed to soil contact. See if we can find that seeds in here. Here we go. We found the seeds right here. One. And here's another one. So pretty similar development. I would expect that with the similar soil temperatures we saw. We check that seed depth there. This is, yeah, it looks like we're at, you know, over 2 inches, closer to 3. So the planter looks like I put it a little deeper here, but it shouldn't be too much of an issue there. So we'll put these seeds back and have those soybeans sprout up. So another thing to consider is weed control with these two different farming systems. So with tillage, we see over here that the tillage is a form of weed control. So it removes those weed seedlings as they're coming up when they do the tillage, and it'll kill them. Whereas in the no-till system, we have to rely on different methods. And this one, we would rely on herbicides. So we need an effective herbicide program to control these weeds as before around planting time. So before they can become a problem. So out here in the Starke County Soil and Water Conservation District test plot, we saw some differences between our no-till field and the tilled field. So we have a lot more residue in the no-till, and the soil moisture is a little bit higher towards the surface, so a little bit more soil moisture in the no-till field compared with the till. The seed placement is fairly similar. The soil temperatures are pretty similar, and we'd expect that at this time of the year, kind of late spring. Early on in the spring, we'd probably see differences in soil temperature because of that residue cover here, kind of performing some insulation. The soybeans were developing at kind of similar pace. They're very similar size. They've just been planted 2 days ago, and they're already sprouting. So with these warm temperatures, they'll come up fast. So check back with me through the summer as we'll check on some of the progress of both of these beans and some differences in the growing, and also looking at the soil, because this has been going on for about 4 years. So we should start seeing some differences in soil structure and soil function. And so I'll be showing some of those tests on these videos. So if you have any questions about these different growing systems or what's going on out here, be sure to reach out to me, either by email or in the comments below. And have a good day.